I want to have a nice conversation with you about nightmares because why not? Um, and also, I have a class coming up on April 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, a virtual class where I am teaching about overcoming nightmares and anxious dreams, something that I am quite familiar with. And, as I've had my experiences and as I have shared my methods and techniques through this class on how to overcome nightmares and anxious dreams, I have noticed that there are specific questions that people have about nightmares. And one of the main questions is, why am I having a nightmare or an anxious dreams, which is a good place to start. So, one, I want to just share the difference between nightmares and anxious dreams. I feel that maybe personally we don't really pay attention, or maybe not necessarily don't pay attention to, but we don't really label anxious dreams. And anxious dreams are very important because they are kind of like that phase before a dream becomes a nightmare, or say you're having the nightmare first, then you're still having this recurring theme, but it will show up more as like a stress based experience as opposed to a full blown nightmare. And so, I think it's important to differentiate between the two. So, an anxious dream is a stress based dream that carries unease, tension, and worry. And essentially, sometimes we are just processing things within our sleep because, we're so busy throughout the day. We don't have time, or our body and mind doesn't have time to really regulate itself to just kind of balance out the energy and work through the stressful situations or the energetics of the day. And so our anxious dreams are those times of our sleep in which our body will naturally regulate itself. Anxious dreams are also the midway point between a typical dream and a nightmare, right? And so they are the result of the natural way our body processes and releases stress at the end of the day. The anxious dreams, they provide moderate signals to pay attention to the energy and the well-being of our daily life, our body, our mental health, etc. Right? So not very nightmarish, but we know of like anxious dreams where it's like something can be happening, say, like a dream that has definitely been an anxious type experience for me has been what restaurant people call restaurant nightmares. Like sometimes they could be nightmares, but honestly, they're really just anxious dreams. And for me, it looks like I am working in a restaurant as a waitress or sometimes a bartender, and I am taking someone's order, or maybe I have multiple orders, and I just can't keep up. Like whatever the nature of like that dream is, like what the details are, at its core, I just can't keep up, right? And that has some deeper layings for me, or deeper meanings, layer of meanings for myself. And I tend to always have these dreams when I am experiencing something in my work dynamic where maybe I don't feel like I can keep up, or maybe it's just like I have like too much on my plate, basically. But those can be really anxious dreams. I wake up really just unsettled, I'm a little bit irritated, and it's like also just with my love for my dream space and having amazing dreams. I'm like, "Oh, that was a waste of a dream." Like, why did I have to have that dream? But I know it's something to pay attention to. Nightmares, on the other end, we're all familiar with nightmares. They are emotionally overwhelming. They can induce terror or trauma, and they just really bring forth this sense of fear or panic and distress. And with nightmares, they tend to be hard to shake. Like in your waking life throughout your day, they just really settle in, and it just you feel really unstable and at unease, right? And so the nightmares tend to be more of an urgent feeling, or at least your psyche, your body is wanting to really get you to pay attention. Like now is the time to make some changes, adjustment, and really bring attention to whatever the nature of this nightmare is bringing forth for you, the nature of the dream, and what it's pointing to in your life. Anxious dreams also are a signal to pay attention, but there's not necessarily a huge urgency. It's more so just, let's take better care of ourselves. Again, in the case of the restaurant dream, maybe it's due to the fact that, you have too much on your plate. So let's kind of get organized. Let's like put some stuff on the back burner for now and just take care and take time to, regulate your nervous system and so forth. And so with nightmares, or let me just say with dreams in general, they are always pointing to something that's happening currently in your life or possibly something that is going to happen. So something might be like future oriented, but for the most part it's something that you're already experiencing. So even if it is something of the past is happening in your dream, say in the case of the example that I shared, the restaurant, I haven't worked in a restaurant in probably about 8 or 9 years. That dynamic, that environment still comes up, but it's in relation to what I'm experiencing in my waking life now. So you may have had a recurring nightmare that has happened or that you've experienced like throughout your entire life. I definitely people have shared with me that they have a nightmare that they've been having since they were a child, but the dynamic tends to change a little bit, but like the core of that nightmare is still the same, right? So no matter if it's something that's happening in the past, it is always relative to your current life, to your some current situation within your life. So sometimes the body or the mind will generate an anxious dream first. Usually it might start out anxious. And essentially, it's like the stress is building in the dreams, right? The stress is showing up in the dreams. It's trying to, like, maybe your psyche, your body, again, is trying to help you process and work through it. But if you don't pay attention and do and follow the guidance and take care in your waking life, the stress can continue to build and potentially manifest as a nightmare later. So that's something you might want to pay attention to. And on the flip side, you might have a nightmare, right? You might have this recurring nightmare. And then as you take care and do the work in your waking life, it will devolve to an anxious dream. And then maybe you won't have it anymore. Maybe sometimes it might come up as an anxious dream. But these are ways in which you can really tell for yourself if you have been doing or following the guidance of the dream, right? So if the dreams are getting more intense, they're getting more like emotionally intense, more fear-based, bringing forth panic, then it's like, okay, I really need to figure out what this is and pay attention and take necessary action. But if they're lessening in emotional intensity and not inducing as much fear and panic, then that you are doing the necessary work. There still is probably room to do more. And also, this is the way of your body helping you to process and to regulate your system. And so for me, it's interesting. I know that with my nightmares and even with anxious dreams, I will have dreams where I like am being chased, or another recurring anxious dream for me is my daughter, like I can't find her, or like we get separated and I've lost her, and so in the dream I'm trying to find her, and I tend to wake up with anxiety. Sometimes I don't really have panic attacks as much anymore, but sometimes I will get the anxiety, shortness of breath, or heart palpitations, or waking up with sweats. And, I have to really calm myself and talk myself down from that experience and just telling myself, okay, you're safe, you're okay. And I will let the dream kind of just like, I'll let go of the dream for now and just focus on being in the present moment, focus on the fact that I am safe, I'm alive, I'm breathing. My daughter is like either right next to me in the bed, or I know that she's good. And it's really a process of being present with your own energy, being present with what is coming up. So once you feel safe, you can then go forth in the dream. But what the beauty of nightmares and the beauty of anxious dreams is that it is an alert system, a messaging system that allows us to really take action in what is most important in our life. Maybe it's something that's coming up, like something that's stressful, right? That we are needing to regulate. Or in my own experience, I have had anxious and nightmare dreams in which it was part of a spiritual awakening or an activation and letting go of some aspects of my identity or some fears that were keeping me in limitation from a divine connection. So, just to keep it short, I started having these recurring dreams involving dogs, and dogs still are in my dreams at some point in time. But initially, the dog dream started as a nightmare. It started as it was like an astral projection type dream. So I woke up, or I didn't wake up, but I was lucid in my dream, but in my current home, in my current living space. And I felt and also saw my astral body projecting from my physical body in this dream space, in this liminal space. And I literally floated and left out of the front door of the house, exploring my neighborhood, and then going behind the row of houses that are, in alignment with my house. So kind of hovering or floating, moving through the backyard. And as I'm moving through the backyard, and everything kind of feels uneasy, like there were some uneasy interactions. But as I'm floating back to my home, I encounter a pack of dogs, and they're definitely hellhounds. They have the red eyes, like black and kind of like transparent, or what's the word? Like they're almost like mist, but they're like, I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, I was heading full force towards them. They were running towards me, like, I mean, very aggressive in their nature. And I was trying to kind of turn around or go up, and it ended up like I ended up merging with them. They like pretty much vanished when we went head on. And so I kind of merged with them. And that woke me up. Like I was able to wake myself up after that moment. And I woke up with a panic attack. And just there were so many other things happening in my life. At the time, I had like a nervous breakdown. I think before that, shortly before that. And so yeah, they were really aggressive, and I was being chased. And this theme um kept happening, and I dug into it a little bit deeper. I sat with one of my fellow dream expert friends who kind of walked me through it. And like I started really making the connection to the canines. So that was something in my waking life. I was definitely seeing that canines were really paying attention to me. I don't have a dog in my home, but um I was leaning into that connection, even though there was a little bit of fear there, but I felt like there was some sense of protection happening. And at the time, I was not standing up for myself. I wasn't speaking my truth in my waking life. And the dream was helping me to really face that fear of speaking my truth and, what might happen if I do. So to keep it short, the dreams started to change. They started to be less intense and more mystical. I started seeing like Anubis, and Anubis has come in my dream. First, it will show up as a dog, and this actually happened recently. I was coming out of a confrontation with someone. I left that environment, and I'm just walking down a street, and I see that there's a Doberman Pinscher in the shadows looking right at me. And initially I wanted to run. I felt the fear. And in the dream, I then reminded myself, I was like, wait a minute, this is my family, which was something that I learned over time. I was strengthening a connection with Syrian beings, which is the whole aspect of my starseed journey that I also share on my channel here and on the different platforms. But anyway, so I knew seeing the dog at this point, it's been literally a year since having that first Hellhounds dream. I saw the Doberman Pinscher and I was like, wait a minute, that's family. And I kept moving forward in the dream, like I kept walking, and then I had the feeling to turn around because I knew it was behind me. I knew it was following me. And when I turned around, I made eye contact and it was saying that you're divinely protected. You don't have to worry. And then the dream went on to showcase that protection. And there were a pack of dogs, but they were um dogs with they were like they morphed into human bodies with a dog head. So like Anubis like, which you probably can't see, but behind me is a picture of Anubis. So there was, and that was a whole journey, but the beauty of that was that it came through a nightmare. And instead of like running and pushing away the nightmare experience, I kind of dived deep into it and I explored that. And it opened up this wonderful connection between myself and canines in my dreams. And the dog, I started also having dreams of like seeing giant celestial type dogs in the dream and just really captivated. And so I know also when I'm seeing them show up in my dreams that it is communicating a message of protection, of loyalty, more so, I would say loyalty to myself, standing up in my truth, facing my fears, and so forth, right? And so I think that's the like the reason of why you might be having nightmares or anxious dreams in short, is because your soul, your inner being, how whoever you perceive your dreaming self to be, maybe it's your subconscious, but this aspect of you is really communicating with you because there's something important here for you to pay attention to, right? Something that will really help you to experience the deepest level of healing and transformation. So while nightmares can be really intense, they bring about the most healing experience, the greatest transformation. And so when I have nightmares, they are so uncomfortable and they don't happen as much anymore. But when I do, I in some ways I get excited because I'm just like, oh, okay, this is a breakthrough moment, right? And it doesn't have to be, something that like something bad is happening. Like I don't really see it as something bad is going to happen to me here in the future, especially a lot of the times our dreams aren't literal. So I've had dreams before where someone's chasing me with a gun and trying to shoot me, or maybe a bear is like chasing after me and trying to like maul me. I like that's not literally happening. It's more so what am I running from and what am I afraid of that is overtaking me or that's going to devour me and pull me apart, right? Or rip me apart. And so there are many deeper ways to engage with these kind of dreams in a safe way, in a supportive way, of course, sharing your dreams with someone who is safe. I offer dream consultations, so you can always reach out via my website and or reach out via Instagram and we can connect and maybe set something up. And as I mentioned, I am teaching a class on April 26th online on overcoming nightmares and anxious dreams. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how to navigate these kind of dream experiences, join me as I am going to be sharing how I go about that. So thank you so much for your time. And I am really here support because these dreams are just can be destabilizing and can be really intense. But when you have the right support, the right community, and understanding around this, it could be really incredibly powerful. And one of the things I do love the most about dreams is that our dreams are just that strong is the strongest connection to ourselves. Like no one knows us better than our inner being, than our inner self. And our inner being communicates with us through dreams. That's why it's incredibly powerful to really pay attention to your dreams and do your best to act on the guidance that the dream brings forth. So, in that regard, thank you so much again. If you're interested in joining me for this class or learning more, you can check out the information via the link in the description of this video. Hope to see you there.